Hello and thank you for joining me today on The Political Conversationalist. My name is Ben Phipps and we're still on systems of government. This is our third video. We're going to talk about one that has quite the following. This is democracy. When we think of democracy, we think of ancient Greece, and that's exactly where it comes from. In fact, it's a word of Greek descent, which means ruled by all the people, or all people rule. Imagine 2 or 3 times a month, maybe even weekly, you'd have to wake up every morning and go vote on things that may or may not affect you. And majority rules, decisions are final. That's a direct democracy. So what we're talking about today is considered a direct democracy. We're not going to talk about representative democracies. We're going to save that for another video. A direct democracy is one in which everyone votes and directly decides on what decisions, laws, and governmental actions are made as far as speed limits and taxes and anything really, military actions. So there aren't very many good examples of direct democracy. It sounds very good, but in practice it gets a little muddy. I did find 2 examples though. Firstly, ancient Athens. We said it was a Greek word, it had to come from Greece, right? So in ancient Athens they had something called the assembly. And the assembly pretty much ran everything. It was a group of over 5,000 men, and for the time period it was very fair because any Greek male citizen over 18 could vote. In a lot of other places that wouldn't be allowed. As long as you were of Greek descent, you were a free man, and you were over 18, you could work. I mean, you could vote, rather. Hopefully you were already working. I'm not sure about ancient Athenian unemployment. But you could vote in the assembly. And what would happen is they had this large open-air building, kind of like I imagine like a forum or a pantheon, like a giant building, where they would all get and vote on things. But it ran into some serious problems. The first one being, what do you vote on? Who decides what you vote on? And that turned out that that was the biggest, or one of the biggest blockades to this style of democracy, is that the rich people decided what you were going to vote on. And the rich, well-speaking people, the eloquent, well-educated people, decided what you would vote on because they would bring it up and people would listen to them and then they would vote on that. The second problem that was identified with this was actually identified by a philosopher of the time, Aristophanes, and he said that the average Greek male citizen was not very well versed in politics or government, and would just kind of get swayed by whatever sounded the best coming from the stage in front of them. And you had kind of a mob mentality. They would just all get together and get angry, or get all kind of a group emotion, and I'll follow that. Secondly, as an example, I did find a more modern example in Switzerland. Now, Switzerland's not a direct democracy, it's very far from it, but there is an element of their government that is a direct democracy, and I thought it was really cool. Any change to the Swiss constitution has to be voted on by the public at large, and to go through it has to win a majority of votes, both as in more than 50% of people who voted, and a majority of the cantons, which are basically like states. So it has to win a majority of everyone who votes and a majority of all the states in the country. So that was pretty cool. Another thing is that an any citizen can get over 100,000 signatures from registered voters for something they want to change the Constitution, something they want to put into law. And if they get over 100,000 signatures, they can actually submit it and it will be voted on in the future as a potential change to the Constitution. So that's probably the closest thing to direct democracy we have in the modern world. And the reason's pretty simple. There are some pros to direct democracy and there are some cons. On the pro side, you have, it's very fair. Like, everyone is equal. There's no government, no gods, no kings, no emperors. Everything is fair. Everybody's on the same playing field. On the flip side of that, you have everyone on the same playing field. And if you go down the street and you just grab 5 random people and ask them to make a life-changing decision for the world at large, chances are you're not going to get the best decision out of 5 random people. There's a reason that some people are in careers in law or careers in politics, because that's their field of study and that's what they enjoy to do. And some of them are there for corrupt reasons, I'm sure, but they're better suited to take care of those things than people who have no political experience whatsoever. And we saw that in ancient Athens. The second, and probably the worst problem with direct democracy, is that it's very, very inefficient. We talked about this in the communism video. The reason, and autocracy actually. In the autocracy video, we talked about how kings and dictators and things were very quick to make decisions and very quick to come to solutions to problems and very quick to dispatch the military if need be. Well, and communism was the opposite, and that's exactly what's wrong with democracy. You have to get everybody together, you have to get them all to vote, you have to tally all the votes, and then the decision is made. So, can you imagine if someone, say when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, we have to have a direct democracy vote on whether or not we go to war. First we have to organize a vote, then everybody has to find time to get to the vote, then everybody has to vote, then all the votes have to be counted, and probably recounted, and then we can determine whether or not we go to war with Japan. And you can see that would have been probably way too late to have any kind of meaningful counterattack. And that's why direct democracy doesn't really exist on a national level. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned a little bit about direct democracy and its pros and cons. And hopefully you don't get swayed too much when politicians of America today talk about democracy and threats to democracy. Because a lot of them don't know what they're talking about.